Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff and welcome to another episode of Gideon Stuff Adventures. In this video, we're not going on a big scale adventure. We're not climbing any big mountains. We're not backpacking miles and miles into the backcountry. But we are going to be going to a very unique, very beautiful spot here in southern New Mexico and talking about one of the most important geomorphological features in North America. Las Cruces, New Mexico sits in a very geologically interesting part of the state. It's right smack in the middle of the Rio Grande Rift on the shores of the Rio Grande River, and it's surrounded on all sides by mountain ranges, whether it's the tall and impressive Organ Peaks, or the small volcanic Doñanas, or the big rounded limestone Robledos. These mountains house countless cliffs and rock formations and canyons, including Slot Canyon. A slot canyon is a deep, narrow gorge that's been cut through the rocks primarily by high-energy, fast-moving water. This particular slot canyon is about 25 miles north of Las Cruces along 185 or North Valley Drive. It's really easy to find. You pull over on the side of the road, hop a fence, and you can walk right into this slot canyon. It's a really fun place that I like to take people when I've got family or friends visiting. It's a very short, easy walk, and it's really nice to go there during the evening time. It's by the river, so it's nice and cool, but you're a little bit further away from the bugs and stuff, so you don't get bothered by mosquitoes. And I like going there in the afternoon to watch the sunset. It's beautiful, and it's a great spot to take pretty much anyone. Super easy walk, no technical gear or skill required. Interestingly, there is a proposal to turn this area into New Mexico's 36th state park. They're going to call it Slot Canyon Riverlands State Park. It's House Bill 219. It has not been approved yet, and I think it'd be cool to see this area preserved. It's definitely an awesome area that people deserve to see and visit, but I'm not sure I like the idea of spending $5 to go to this place that has previously been free to visit. But that's beside the point. If you're ever in the area, it's definitely worth a visit. This particular slot canyon is eroded into a geologic formation called the Rincon Valley Formation. Now, when you watch the footage I recorded out at the slot canyon itself, for some reason, and I didn't even realize I was doing this when I was doing it, I kept referring to the Rincon Valley Formation as the Camp Rice Formation. I know it's not the Camp Rice Formation. The Camp Rice Formation is considerably younger. I don't know why I was getting them mixed up. I think it's because I talk about the Camp Rice Formation a lot more in the work that I do and stuff. But yeah, I just kept saying Camp Rice Formation. The Rincon Valley Formation sits on top of the Hainer Ranch Formation, which is another very prolific sedimentary rock unit in this part of New Mexico. And then the Camp Rice Formation sits unconformably on top of the Rincon Valley. Unconformably means that there's some time missing between them. And I don't know why I kept calling the Rincon Valley Formation the Camp Rice Formation. It was just coming to my mind. I'm a big dum-dum, but you guys already know this, so you can't be too upset. But yes, that's my bad. The Rincon Valley Formation is really cool because it tells an amazing story. It talks about the development and evolution of one of the most important natural features in North America, the Rio Grande River. So in this video, we're going to talk about the Rio Grande. And I will mention real quick, just a little bit ago, I call it the Rio Grande River, which is actually something that I don't like to do, especially just in regular conversation because it's redundant. Rio Grande River. It's already got the Rio in there. That means river. It's kind of redundant, like I said. But Throughout the course of this video, I will probably refer to it as the Rio Grande River because we're also going to be talking about the Rio Grande Rift. And even though I'm sure it'll be obvious when I'm talking about the rift and when I'm talking about the river, just for clarity's sake, I will continue to say Rio Grande River and Rio Grande Rift. I love the Rio Grande River. It has been a huge part of my life. I've grown up on several different banks of the Rio Grande, and it's a super, super important feature. I called it one of the most important natural features in North America, and I mean that. I really, really mean that. Very few natural features have had such an impact on an area as the Rio Grande. It is the fourth longest river in North America, maybe third if you're like some people and you like to say that the Missouri and the Mississippi are basically tied at first. The Missouri is technically a mile longer, depending on who you ask. Some people say they're basically the same length. Whatever. Some people say it depends where you start measuring speed. Whatever. Third or fourth longest river in North America, and it flows through North America's largest desert, the Chihuahuan Desert, which is very interesting. And it has shaped the landscape of the Southwest. It shaped the ecology of the Southwest, and it's had a huge impact on the human cultures of the Southwest, dating back to paleo-indigenous groups, and then especially influencing more modern indigenous peoples. It was a major source of water for the conquistadors, for the Americans coming west. It still serves as a very important source of water for millions of people living in the United States and Mexico. And it forms perhaps one of the most talked about geopolitical boundaries in the world right now. It has definitely had a huge impact on the region. It is probably, if you were to really twist my arm, I would say it is probably the single most important geomorphologic feature of the American Southwest. But I would also say that it is one of the top 5 most important geomorphologic features in North America as a whole. Let's see, what other geomorphic features would I rank up there with the Rio Grande? The Rocky Mountains, probably. A bunch of mountain ranges could fall into this group. The Great Lakes, the Great Plains. I was gonna say Great Plains, Everglades, but when do you want to separate out biome from geomorphic feature, right? Like, I feel like the Great Plains, I don't know, is more than just a geomorphic feature, potentially. If you want to just like narrow it down to kind of singular features, you know, obviously the Mississippi River and Missouri rivers, they're up there in terms of importance. Yeah, I should make a list on that one of these days. I really should. The Rio Grande River is 1,888 miles long. It starts at the foot of Canby Mountain. That's where the headwaters are in southern Colorado. And of course, it flows all the way through New Mexico, down along the border between Texas and Mexico, and drains into the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico. I actually have plans to go to Canby Mountain and see the headwaters of the Rio Grande. I want to try and do it this summer. We will see how that shakes out. It's something I've always wanted to do. And when I do that, we'll make a video talking about the northern portion of the Rio Grande River. That's actually the portion that I was most familiar with growing up, being from northern New Mexico myself, living on the Taos Plateau. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff about the river up there, the Rio Grande Gorge, all kinds of cool stuff. We'll talk about that later. We're also not going to talk about the southern terminus of the river or the Mexican-Texas border, really. All that is super fascinating. The Rio Grande River Delta is really, really cool. But we're going to try and keep this video a little bit constrained. Now, just like all my adventure videos, I will have links to all of my sources in the description down below, as well as further reading for you guys if you're interested in that. And one of the things that I will try to link is a paper that I wrote about a year and a half ago on the importance of the Rio Grande River. I'll try to get like a Google Doc or something linked for that so that you guys can read my thoughts on the Rio Grande River. I give an overview of the river from its headwaters to its drainage into the Gulf of Mexico. And yeah, some of you guys might be interested in reading that. If you would like to read the thoughts that I have instead of hearing me stutter and stammer them on camera with all the ums and ers, reading my thoughts is probably preferable. Right now, it's early June at the time of recording this, and actually I'm going to be recording this pretty shortly before I upload it to YouTube. It's early June here in southern New Mexico, and we actually recently had a really, really big event with the Rio Grande River. Towards the end of May, beginning of June, they open up the dams at Elephant Butte and Caballo, and they release the water from the reservoirs to flow down through the Las Cruces and West Texas area. And it's always a great event. I didn't go to it this year, but hundreds of people turn up to see the water release. So right now, all the irrigation ditches in Las Cruces are running. The river is full and it's beautiful, and I just love this time of year. The Rio Grande is so important to the people and ecology of southern New Mexico. As I already mentioned, the Rio Grande River flows through the largest desert in North America, the Chihuahuan Desert. The Chihuahuan Desert is also the most biodiverse desert on the planet, which is really, really cool. And a lot of that biodiversity has to do with the fact that a huge ass river is flowing through it. But how did we get here? Well, that's the story that the Rincon Valley Formation tells. And it's a story that I want to share with you. Sometimes it's hard to know when to start a story. It's hard to know where a story begins sometimes. But I think the story of the Rio Grande River starts about 75 million years ago. Now, if you've been watching the Gideon Stuff Adventure series for any length of time at this point, you probably had a light go off in your head as soon as I said 75 million years ago, because we've talked about this event so many times. What happened 75 million years ago? That's right, the onset of the Laramide orogeny. What is an orogeny? It's a mountain building event. And what was the result of the Laramide orogeny? The Rocky Mountains. Yeah, that's a great place to start. 75 million years ago, most of New Mexico was pretty flat. In fact, a lot of it was underwater. The Western Interior Seaway stretched across North America, drowning a bunch of Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, Wyoming. Everywhere was flooded. But then the uplift of the continent began because of the Farallon plates abducting underneath. We're not going to get into all that. We've been over it ad nauseum before. But as the continent was pushed up, the ocean water was kind of sliding off. And then all of a sudden, bam, we're building huge mountain chains. Some of the biggest mountains in North America. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Come close, come close. Mountains are really important to the water cycle. See, now that we suddenly had mountains where there didn't used to be mountains, water, rain, snow, sleet, hail falling onto the North American continent was suddenly finding that it had different places to go. It was being channeled off into different directions as runoff was coming down the sides of these tall mountains. During this time, we would have seen the development of a lot of drainage basins. A drainage basin is basically the low-lying area at the foot of highlands where all the water runs and dumps sediment. But then, something else happened. About 45 million years ago, the Laramide orogeny ceased. And we had an increase of volcanism. The Ignimbrite flare-up is what we call it. Around the time of the Oligocene, 45 million years ago. See these rocks out here? All these purples and pinks and stuff? Those are a bunch of volcanic rocks that were erupted starting about 45 million years ago. So now we're piling billions of metric tons of volcanic ash all over the continent, choking up canyons, clogging up plains. We're changing the drainage basins again. And then something else happened. Starting about 35 million years ago, New Mexico started to split in half. All right. Say it with me. The Rio Grande Rift. That's right. Bam, baby. We're rifting. North America is pulling apart. Maybe because of slab rollback. We're not going to talk about why it started to do this, but there was extensional forces working in this part of the country. What that means is we've got something pulling this way and something pulling this way. And as you're pulling, you're thinning the crust. Well, you thin the crust, bam, you get more volcanism. We had another burst of volcanism that lasted millions and millions of years, kind of in spats and sequences. But you're also faulting. You're causing the crust to break and sink or get popped up in some places in a series of horst and graben systems. And again, we've talked about some of this stuff in greater detail in other videos, and we'll be touching on a little bit of it here in a little bit as well. Bam! We are changing the drainage basins of the North American continent again. The Rio Grande Rift stretches from southern Colorado into northern Chihuahua, but most of it is located in the great state of New Mexico, and the rift is obviously named for the Rio Grande River. Now, just because the river flows through the rift, which kind of goes like this along I-25 right here from Albuquerque, just because the river flows in the rift doesn't mean that the river caused the rift. Quite the opposite, actually. The rift caused the river. So if we're looking here, we can see some of the features of the rift. Now, this is not a topographic map, but I know New Mexico very well, and I know how to interpret rocks. So I'll point you through some things here that we can see just from the geology. So right here's Las Cruces. You guys see my little pointer. Here's I-25, here's I-10. These right here are the Organ Mountains. Right here are the San Andres Mountains and the Oscuro Mountains, or the Oscuras, my bad. Up in here, we have the Los Pinos Mountains, the Manzana Mountains, the Manzanita Mountains, and into the Sandias. On this side of I-25, we've got the Robledo Mountains down here. Over here, we have the Caballos. Here's the Black Range in here. And what we're seeing is some high mountain peaks on either side of the river. This is our horst and graben system. The low valleys are the grabens, and the mountain ranges are the horsts. Basically, this happens when you're extending the crust and you're causing normal faulting to occur. This will down drop one block in relation to another block or two other blocks and cause this basin and range system that we see. Now, if we look up here in Taos County, right here is the Taos Plateau. And right here are the Tusis Mountains. Here's the Sangre de Cristos, the Santa Fe Range. These are the Southern Rockies. The Tusis Mountains are an extension of the San Juan Mountains that continue up here into Colorado. The Sangre de Cristos go up into Colorado, and they meet up with some of the other Southern Rocky mountain ranges. This right here is a good spot to see the borders of this rift. And remember, the Rocky Mountains are a laramide feature. However, a lot of the uplifts that we see out here in this area are going to be rift features. These are going to be mountains that were formed because of the opening of the rift. Now, the other thing that you can see here, and I'm not sure if you can see it real well at this scale, but there's a bunch of these little lines going every which way. There's a bunch of them. Let's tilt down here a little bit. You can see a bunch of them out through here. These are all faults, typically normal faults. There's a huge fault actually that runs about like this, comes through by the Doñana Mountains. It pops up Tenuco Mountain, Tenuco Mountain, pops up Tortugas Mountain out here by Las Cruces. Really, really big fault. Right here is a huge fault system, the East Robledo Fault. That's really, really important. All these faults are related to the opening of the rift. As you can imagine from our Horst and Graben systems, we're popping up these tall mountains with these lowlands in between, and that means that water is running off the slopes of these mountains into these basins. Now, millions of years ago, all these basins were self-draining. That means that they did not have any water escaping them. All the basins, all the water from the tops of the mountains would just run to the basin and either evaporate out or form playa lakes. A lot of these basins still exist in one form or another today, and one of the important ones is the Albuquerque Basin, located, wouldn't you believe it, around Albuquerque. 16 million years ago, water running off the Sangre de Cristos formed a small river that flowed into this basin. This river is the ancestral Rio Grande. However, this river got stuck in this basin. You can kind of see the outline of the basin right here. This is a really, really large basin, but 16 million years ago, the land was too high for the water to escape out of. There could have also have been volcanic plugs blocking the river from flowing out. But the Albuquerque Basin was also incredibly deep. So all the water coming off Sangre de Cristos just sat here and it formed a massive playa lake. However, eventually, those rivers brought enough sediment from the mountains to start filling in this basin. And once the basin was filled sufficiently, that water was able to overflow and start running south. Now, the Albuquerque Basin was not the only basin like this. The Española Basin, the San Luis Basin were also some of these large self-draining basins. In fact, one of these days, I'll make a video about Lake Alamosa, which was a huge lake up here in southern Colorado. If you guys have followed me on Instagram or things, actually I've made a couple of YouTube videos about the Great Sand Dunes area. Love that national park. It was formed from the evaporation, or from the draining of Lake Alamosa after it busted through a volcanic dam and flowed south. Now, after the ancestral Rio Grande busted out of the Albuquerque Basin and started flowing south, it soon connected to all of these other basins. And wouldn't you know it, pretty soon we had a big river system running from the Sangre de Cristos down into present-day southern New Mexico. And then, about 800,000 years ago or something like that, Lake Alamosa burst its banks and a whole bunch of water got added to the system and the length of the river was elongated. The history of these events is preserved in the geologic record. Many, many millions of tons of sediment were accumulated in these basins, and today these form geologic formations such as the Rincon Valley. A lot of these formations are grouped into the Santa Fe group, which different people have problems with. We're not going to get into the semantics of how we should divvy up geologic formation classification right now. But if you're ever driving around between Española and Santa Fe, for example, and you look out your window either side on US 285, and you see these kind of tan cliffs that have really deep, jagged channels eroded into them, that's Santa Fe group sediments, and it's very similar to the rock that we're seeing here at the Slot Canyon with the Rincon Valley Formation. These are what we call Piedmont deposits or alluvial fan deposits. And basically what an alluvial fan is sediment that's eroded off of a mountain and collects at the foot of a mountain. So if you look at a mountain range, you'll see the high peaks, sticking up there, they're jagged, whatever. And then there'll be some, less steep slopes that look kind of softer near the foot or the toe. Yeah, that's where a bunch of sediment collects. And then, of course, a lot of the sediment can get moved further down and become what we call basin fill. But the Rincon Valley Formation is alluvial fans. These are rocks that are being eroded off of the mountains that were in place at the time, about, between 15 and 9 million years ago. And when we're out there at the Slot Canyon, you can see me pointing out some of the rocks in the sandstone and conglomerate. A lot of them are volcanic, and those are going to be rocks that were erupted and forming mountains during the Oligocene. So what the Rincon Valley Formation preserves is one of these ancient enclosed basins from the early days of the Rio Grande. This was before they all became integrated into one system. And when we look at the walls of Slot Canyon, we can see the evidence of these ancient stream channels. We can see the way that water was rushing off of these mountains and then just collecting in the lowlands underneath. One group of rocks that is often included in the Rincon Valley formation is the Selden basalt flows. These are interbedded with the Rincon Valley formation, and a lot of times lava flows like the Selden basalt will kind of get lumped in with underlying sedimentary units, because typically these lava flows happen a little bit quicker. The accumulation of sediments takes a little bit longer, so you can kind of lump them in there as a group. And the Selden basalt has been radiometrically dated to about 9.6 million years old, and according to the law of superposition, because it sits on top of a lot of the seds in the Rincon Valley formation, we know that those seds had to have been deposited before 9.6 million years. And I'm going to make a dedicated video on the different ways that we radiometrically date rocks. But for now, I think it was argon that was used on the Selden basalt. It probably was. Argon is a very popular dating method for especially younger basalts. Eventually, the Rio Grande River would find its way to the ocean, and this took about 15 million years. It's estimated that the Rio Grande River reached the Gulf of Mexico between 1.6 million and 600,000 years ago. So fairly recently, especially when you consider the fact that the ancestral Rio Grande that was draining into that closed Albuquerque Basin started about 16 million years ago. So this was definitely a lengthy process. It did not happen overnight. There is so much more I could say about the Rio Grande. It's so vitally important. I'm going to be making more videos about the Rio Grande. We'll talk about the cultures that it supported. We'll talk about some of the animals that have called it home. And of course, we'll talk about, one of these days, we'll talk about the headwaters. I want to talk about Lake Alamosa and the Rio Grande Gorge and all this really, really cool stuff. Next time I make it up north, we'll talk about that. But for right now, you probably want to see the actual Slot Canyon. So let's go do that. You can listen to me and Janelle ramble on and bicker back and forth. So enjoy that. I am, because you know what? I wanted to make a video about the Rio Grande. Where? Ah, behold, bunny.
Oh, bunny! Hi, bunny.
You scared it away. I thought you were going to eat it. Raw and wriggling. Fucking Gollum.
Raw wriggling.
Wriggling start. Wait, what? Nothing.
This starts with a W.
Yeah, wriggling starts with a W.
This is like wriggling, like riding.
No, wriggling, like squirming. Well, we're heading out here to the Slot Canyon. It's just called Slot Canyon, which is inconvenient because there's tons of slot canyons. But it's going to be behind this little ridge right here. Hi, Janelle. On top, you can see this flat rock that's kind of blackish. That's the Selden basalt. This was a lava flow that flowed about 9 million years ago. Did you see a bug?
Yes.
Ooh. And so it's sitting on top of the Camp Rice Formation, which is what the Slot Canyon is actually eroded into, and we'll be talking more about that later. The what? Slut Canyon, that's right. Slay. Because I'm here?
Yeah.
Wow. Rude. Rude. We gotta save that kind of language for my OnlyFans. Come on. You're not gonna get lost. I mean, the road is just over there. Where you park is over there. You gotta hop a gate. This isn't even really a hike. It's more like just a walk. It's very short. It's very easy. It's not adventure-y. That's true. You could make it a hike. Yeah, if you go up to this little bluff here, that gets a little bit of the blood pumping. You can go all the way back, yeah. And actually, you can do a loop all the way around, technically. I've only done that once. What'd you say? Huh? I heard you. I heard you. Rude. Wow. A snack.
Is that a snake mark, really?
No, that's like a bicycle. Or someone dragging their walking stick. So you know how they're like planning on making a state park out here? Like it's been proposed? I have no idea what that state park would look like. I imagine they'd build it right in here, like campsites and bathrooms and stuff. Still, it would really suck if you had to like pay $5 to come see the slot canyon. I'd feel cheated. It was me. All right, so here we are entering the canyon. We can actually see on some of these chunks of basalt. Let's see, this one doesn't have any good. This one's got good stuff. This orange, kind of powdery looking mineral. What is that, Janelle?
Cheeto dust.
Cheeto dust. Also called Ittingsite, which is a alteration product from olivine, which is pretty common in basalt. Something else that's kind of cool about this. These.
Yeah, hear that?
I hear a bug.
No, there was like rocks.
Oh, I won't be surprised. Oh yeah. There's some kind of critter up there in the bushes. Huh. You can catch it and eat it.
Survival instinct.
The other thing about this basalt is it has some pieces of volcanic glass in it, some volcanic glass lithics, which is pretty cool. We'll talk more about the basalt when we get to the top and see it again. All right, so up here is where the canyon gets really slotty. See what I did there?
Firework noise.
Was that your firework noise? Horrible. Horrible.
Whenever that happens to you, you just fireworks.
I'm about to turn around and slap you. Right in the face. Knock your fucking teeth out.
Maybe you'll knock them back into place.
Maybe I would. Be great for you. Actually, right now I want to stop and talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. The Camp Rise Formation is made up of sandstone and conglomerate. And right here in this wall, we see a couple of different things going on. The Camp Rise Formation was deposited as alluvial fans coming off the slopes of mountains during the time of the ancestral Rio Grande. And so we can see here that the rocks in this conglomerate are made up of the rocks that were eroding out of these mountains. A lot of volcanic rocks mainly. We can also see a lot of different energy gradients. We have times of higher energy where we're moving bigger rocks. We have lower energy where we're moving basically sand and gravel. And in some places you can even see a little bit of pebble imbrication. Not great. This right here could be a little bit. Basically this means the pebbles are all kind of pointed the same direction, and that tells you which way the water was flowing. But as we move through here, we're going to see a lot of different channelization features, and we're going to talk about some faulting when we get to the very top. Janelle, for scale, she's 3 foot 5 inches, for those of you wondering.
Bro, what are you doing?
I don't know, what are you doing?
I'm picking out my shoes.
You look like you're about to make a speech. Whoa, I almost tripped and died. Did you see that?
That'd be embarrassing.
That would be embarrassing. Right around here somewhere is... No, that's been lost for so long. It's never going to be found.
Why is my parrot so big? It looks like yours.
You want some pictures in here?
No, I'm trying to take a picture of you.
doing my videoing. Somewhere in here there is
Gideon.
Gideo.
Yeah.
That's my production company. Oh yeah, right here we can actually see some channelization. This big lens right here shows where there was a higher energy flow that was cutting down into the other layers.
Oh my God, Gideon! What the fuck is that?
It's a sphinx.
Is he alive?
Probably.
Is he just hiding?
Yeah, maybe he got a little bit too hot. I should have still been filming. I went to just kind of move that little sphinx. He took off flying. Ear-splitting scream in the canyon. I'm pretty sure my ears are bleeding right now. This one starts dancing around like some kind of possessed ape. It's just a big moth. It's gonna eat you like a fucking piece of clothing. Don't worry, I'll get you some mothballs to keep you safe.
Oh, horrible.
You're so dumb.
That was like the best scream I've ever done, man.
Yeah, and it echoed for like 3 seconds.
Why is it dark?
Why is it dark? Remember what you said when we were coming over here? Like, oh, we should go to Slot Canyon because the sun's not in there. I get here and you're like, why is it dark?
You gotta eat it. Look at that.
This is where I
Oh my God.
hide my bodies.
You got fucked up. You're bad. Oh my God. Where the fuck is he?
I mean, everywhere?
Yeah.
When we came out here for a field camp, we found a dead crow at the top, and Marie, buried it.
What the fuck is this? What is
No,
this?
that's not a bird, that's yucca.
I saw like two different dead animals. That one was like a raccoon head.
Little bit. Oh, that's pretty.
But I'm like, well, bend that ass over there.
That's staying in. I hope you know that. You're special.
Why is it getting hotter?
We're getting closer to the top, closer to the sun. Could you imagine being like some kind of cow just walking along at the top and then you just fall into this?
Imagine following the other cow inside the canyon.
It's like cowception, just cows stacking off each other from bottom to top.
Did it go right over your head?
No, it didn't. I just chose to ignore it.
Can you like picture this?
Wow. Wow.
I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna drop kick you into the sun.
Oh, bud. I wonder how many bugs fly towards the sun, thinking it's like a light.
I mean, it is a light, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but like, it's like a good light. Why do bugs fly to a light? Good warm?
Maybe they want to die.
Photosynthesis?
When I was a kid, I used to love to light candles and set them outside on the porch and watch the moths fly into them. I know. I'm surprised I didn't grow up to be a psychopath.
I'm driving around.
Good for him. We made it. Into the boiling hot sun. All right, so over here, we see our basalt again. And there's some other stuff going on with this basalt. Look at this caliche in there. Ooh, there's a big old lizard. But this is the Selden basalt, right here where I'm standing. That is also the Selden basalt. Oh, that's a pretty lizard. So how did that piece get up there when the rest of it is down here? The answer is a fault. A fault popped that part up and dropped this part down. And there are a multitude of faults running along this area, specifically a series of normal faults. Here are the little butte. You see that contact between the Selden basalt and the Camper Ice. The Camper Ice does get a lot more reddish contact. You see here we've also got this kind of thick caliche layer. Woo! Hell yeah. And that big crack is the Slot Canyon. This right here is a better channel. This is the one that I was looking for originally. So you can actually see right here, pinches out and gets all thin. You can see it gets thicker through there, pinches out again. This is a river channel or a stream channel during a flood. Jesus, it's dark in here. During a flood, a higher rate of water flow would have carved down into the sediments on this alluvial fan and deposited bigger clasts in there. That's a really, really cool channel. We call this a lenticular feature.
Bro, you see how big that shit is?
He can't hurt you. He's a moth.
I still don't want him flashing around.
Hello, Mr. Moth. Mr. Sphinx. I want you to go and eat Janelle's hair. Oh, she's gone. And that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Big shout out to my channel members right here at the Cowboy level. I appreciate anything they do for the channel. If you want to become a member and support me directly, there's a button down below. As for the rest of you hooligans, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.